Our Spectrum News 1 reporter Lauren Toms has been following this story all week. She joins us live now from UNC's campus with more. Lauren.
That's right, Rob. Conversations about racial issues here on UNC's Chapel Hill campus are not uncommon. The university has long battled with its own history of racism and white supremacy. But this controversy over the Board of Trustees stalling to approve a tenure recommendation for an acclaimed black journalist has some students considering how all of this can impact their future in academia. Every day, Alexandra Odom drives the 30 minutes from Durham to UNC Chapel Hill. She works as a pharmacy technician when she has time, but she's also writing her PhD dissertation on 20th century African American history. Odom isn't sure what her career path is, but the controversy over tenure for award-winning journalist Nikole Hannah-Jones makes her question her future.
I think one of the pervasive thought I had was like, wow, if she can have a Pulitzer and a MacArthur, what do I have to do to get recognition for my own work? Or what do I have to do to get a position in academia?
Was she surprised by the board's failure to approve Hannah-Jones's tenure?
No, and I don't think a lot of people were surprised, but I think not being surprised doesn't necessarily make it any less disappointing. This is high-profile coverage of an issue that is not uncommon. And when we understand that, then we can really understand how pervasive this problem is in academia.
The 26-year-old doctoral candidate says between work and school, she doesn't have much time to get involved in social issues on campus. But this one cuts to the core.
What kind of people feel welcome at UNC when decisions like this are made? Who's going to look at this and say, yes, UNC made the right choice in this scenario, and now I want to go there? That is the student body that I want to be a part of. That is a graduate school that I want to go to. That is a school where I want to be a professor. What kind of people look at these kinds of decisions and say that?
This latest controversy has made Odom wonder what the future may be like for herself and others.
If I'm a perfect fit for a job, but university politics and department politics makes it seem like I'm going to be someone who is ruffling feathers, or I'm going to be considered a controversial figure, it doesn't really matter how good my dissertation is, because those things can all stand in the way of me getting a position that I've rightfully earned based on my academic rigor. The Board of Trustees says that it has not yet held a formal vote on Hannah-Jones's tenured position, but that the door remains open for this opportunity down the road.
So, Lauren, we understand she has the support of students, the faculty. Do we know any of the reasons why the board is kicking this decision down the road?
Well, the board has been accused of succumbing to pressure from the Republican-held North Carolina state legislature, but the specific criticism in this case remains unclear. Some board members have questioned Hannah-Jones's lack of formal education experience, but students and faculty maintain that Hannah-Jones is more than qualified to obtain this coveted position. In Chapel Hill, I'm Lauren Toms, Spectrum News 1.
Spectrum News 1 reporter Lauren Toms is in Chapel Hill where the rally happened. And Lauren, the Board of Trustees official ruling to not award Hannah-Jones tenure was reportedly due to her lack of teaching experience, but some students and faculty came out to fight that.
That's right, and despite the rain today, hundreds of demonstrators came out on UNC's Chapel Hill campus to stand in solidarity with Nikole Hannah-Jones. But many of these students today said that this fight is much greater than the experience Hannah-Jones has faced over the last several months. During today's events, members of the university's Black student movement outlined a list of demands for the university to help improve on-campus life for Black students and to further acknowledge the university's own history of slavery and racism. Now, I caught up with just some of the event's organizers today who say that the Board of Trustees' lack of action on a tenured offer for Hannah-Jones has made them less proud to be a Tar Heel.
For me, it's definitely just shown that this university is not meant for me. It's shown that I really have had to carve my way in this university if I had to make my path, but this university has no intention of making one for me.
And Black Student Movement President Talijah Van told me that she is not overly confident that Hannah-Jones would accept a position here at UNC, even if it does include tenure. But ultimately, she does hope that the Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist does what's best for herself.
I want to see this Black woman prioritize herself and to be in a space where she is 110% valued, because the spaces exist. Nikole Hannah-Jones does not have to settle for UNC at Chapel Hill. UNC at Chapel Hill should be groveling on their knees to get Nikole Hannah-Jones to stay here. And if she chooses to not, that's the university's loss.
And meanwhile, student body president Lamar Richards, who is a fully voting member of the board, has called for an emergency meeting of the Board of Trustees to happen no later than Wednesday, June 30th. He says that in this meeting, he expects the board to take up a formal vote on the faculty recommendation of tenure for Hannah-Jones. In Chapel Hill, I'm Lauren Toms, Spectrum News 1.
Spectrum News 1 reporter Lauren Toms joins us now. And Lauren, you talked to Richards about the change he hopes to make.
And Sharon, as we await tomorrow's vote, I caught up with student body president Lamar Richards, who told me that when he started at UNC, he never set out to represent the school's 20,000 undergraduate students, but he is making sure their voices are heard. The UNC Chapel Hill campus is quiet this time of year. Most students are off enjoying their summer, but one student has stayed behind and is already making plenty of noise.
Somewhere along the line, I got picked up the name of troublemaker of the Senate. They can call me what they want to call me.
Meet Lamar Richards. He's UNC's newest student body president. And just a few months into the job, he's made history as the university's first openly gay Black student body president.
Yeah, what I found through my election, by our student body electing someone that is Black, gay, out of state, and all these other marginalized identities here at Carolina, is that our student body is ready for change. They're ready to not only accept someone with these identities, but they're also ready to put their faith in someone that isn't the status quo, isn't the regular.
The incoming junior has a lot on his plate, from his double majors in public policy and psychology to his St. Bernard puppy Lola, and he's hit the ground running in his new role.
Hey, Joe, this is Lamar.
He was sworn into the board just last month, on the same day that the Board of Trustees held a meeting that did not include a formal vote on tenure for Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Nikole Hannah-Jones.
This is my first meeting. I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm walking into for the next year. Knowing that, and that a lot of people from that crowd were also students, the peers I represent. And I was excited. And I felt that they went unacknowledged.
The South Carolina native represents many constituencies in his role, having to balance being a voice for his peers, a fully voting member of the Board of Trustees, and the only Black male on the board.
What surprised me the least was the amount of privilege that's in that space. And, I heard several times from several trustees, Nikole Hannah-Jones situation or another situation, this isn't racial. It isn't a question anymore of whether or not a single decision or a single choice is about race, but rather how does every choice and how does every decision impact those of different races.
Richards has found himself in the spotlight as he navigates student representation in the ongoing controversy.
The university shifted blame to the board shifted blame to the university, professors shifted blame to admin shifted blame to the dean of the journalism school. The buck starts and stops with me.
And he's been welcomed by his peers as their voice for change, and he's not afraid to be heard.
The university has failed to meet the challenge of a true reckoning, of true inclusive leading and leadership for so long that we use the term now and it almost is fruitless. I'm here to ensure that students' voices are continuously heard. And if that means being louder in order for our voices to be heard, then that's something I'm willing to do.
And during our conversation, I asked Lamar if this experience has maybe opened a door to a future in politics, and he told me that as of now, anything is possible.
Well, Lauren, what did Lamar tell you about his feelings going into that meeting on Wednesday?
Right. Well, he hasn't definitively shared how he plans to vote, but he has said that he's been closely listening to the calls from fellow students. Just last week, hundreds, including Lamar, participated in a solidarity demonstration calling on the board to offer Hannah-Jones a tenured position. But for the most part, students are not confident that enough members will vote in her favor. The special meeting has been scheduled for 3 p.m. Wednesday, and we'll be out here covering the latest. But for now in Chapel Hill, I'm Lauren Toms, Spectrum News 1.